Hello, everybody. Happy New Year, and welcome to PC's Playbook. This is, I guess, my playbook. Um, it's week 18 of the NFL regular season, so it's all kind of coming down to this. I mean, it's for some teams, of course, and nothing really matters between their games now. It's either they're like 5-11 or 13-3, and don't really need much from this week. But there are some teams like the Carolina Panthers who have a pretty big game this week. And I'll be kind of just breaking down, these different, games and how they could really affect, the playoff race, which is all it has ever come down to this week and this year. And this week is the big final, like the finale. Big going out in flames of the year, like winner takes all games. So yeah, let's get into it. So of course, the first game of the week is Panthers Bucks. This is at least the biggest game for me this week, even though there's a lot of big games. But I mean, going into it, it's it's very important to kind of look at the Panthers' last maybe 10 weeks and see how they've gone win loss win loss win loss win loss win loss without any fail, and kind of think that it would keep going now. And of course, they lost the Seahawks last week, meaning that there's a pretty good chance that if that were to keep going, it would be a win versus the Bucks. But besides just me saying, oh, the tradition, or not tradition, the pattern or something like that will keep going, imagining that has already broken. Looking at that matchup, I mean, it's a pretty tough matchup. You saw it last time, week 16. It was a very good game. It was 23-20 off a game-winning interception by Lathan Ransom for the Panthers to win. I was there. Very fun game. But now in Tampa, which is, I mean, harder to play in than in the bank. I mean, Bryce does a lot better at home than he does away. In Tampa, they've got some of their guys back that they're recovering from injury. They had a big stretch of injuries in this kind of their losing streak they've been on here. The Bucks have had a big stretch of injuries, and they're kind of recovered. And they look like a pretty big threat. I mean, they looked like one of the best teams in the NFL to start the season. I think they were 5-1 at one point, and then of course kind of falling off towards the end of the season. But they're still the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They can still be that team that can beat anyone in the NFL. And the Panthers are definitely one of those teams that's very beatable at times. I mean, the consistency really has been the main problem for the Panthers. Kind of the opposite of the Bucks. The Bucks are either on a very consistent stretch or very inconsistent stretch, or not inconsistent stretch. They're either in a row very good or in a row very bad. It's not every other week they switch off. The Bucks are more or less just they'll have 5 weeks of being the best team in the NFL, 5 weeks of being the worst. The Panthers are just 1-1-1-1-1. Right now, the Bucks look like they're playing some of the worst football of the year. They've lost maybe 4 or 5 games in a row, including one of the Panthers. But of course, you never really know with that team that can turn it on and have that 5-week stretch. And of course, this would be a great time for them to turn on that flip and going into the playoffs. And for the Panthers, of course, they're really just every other week they're good. That's led by Bryce Young, who has not shown a good 3-week in a row stretch this season. You can argue that his stretch of Bucks, Saints, and Rams was a good 3-week stretch. But I'd also argue that the Saints game, he was mediocre, not great, and also lost the Saints without putting up too much of a great offensive performance in that game. So I would say 2 inconsistent teams, but Panthers are probably the most inconsistent team you can talk about. They are the definition of inconsistent is just you never really know what's going to happen. Just win loss win loss win loss. And the Bucks are inconsistent in the sense of on stretches of being really good and being really bad, being really good, being really bad. And it's for long weeks at a time on these stretches. It's like a big roller coaster, big drops, big going up. And the Panthers is more or less one of those roller coasters. I mean, I really have not seen much to suggest that the Bucks look like a team that can put up a fight right now. I mean, they looked good for the first 3 quarters of that game versus the Panthers last week, or not last week, 2 weeks ago. They looked good, but did not look good enough. Of course, the Panthers still won. But that was at home, of course, and that was with like they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have like any like unfortunate plays like they did with the Seahawks when there was that pick or that fumble. They had like some unfortunate flags, like that 3rd and 20 face mask. So it is really going to come down to the unforced errors by the Panthers. All the games they lose seem to be coming down to that. Just turning the ball over and also 3rd down performance and flags and, flags on 3rd down. Those things have really decided some games. The Saints game especially, there were so many flags. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So many flags that gave the Saints first downs on 3rd down and long. And it was so frustrating the entire game, and that's probably why we lost. And then on offense, our 3rd downs were not great. So that's kind of been the kind of, I guess, pattern through our games we've lost in this stretch of losing every game, is that we cannot perform on 3rd down. I think ESPN even wrote about this in an article. We are probably one of the worst 3rd down performing teams I've seen in a while, not because our offense is bad at it. Our offense is actually kind of decent at it. They're not good at it, but they're, I would say, a slightly below average, but not that far below average at it. But on defense, it's basically just 1st and 10 already. Like, just give them the first down at this point. It's not really worth a fight. And we'll allow like 3rd and 23 on screen passes like we did versus Seahawks. It's so frustrating. And like 3rd and 20 on the face mask. And then there's like pass interference calls or holding or something like that that'll give them the first down on a penalty. And that's, I mean, if you're the coach of that team, you can't be happy with it. You got to be very frustrated. I imagine Coach Canales is very frustrated with them on that front and probably is working on that in practice this week, especially going into a game that's the most important of the season against the Bucks. So that is the 4:30 game, and the Panthers have their first, I guess, technically primetime game since that Monday night game versus the Niners, and their second in like a few years. So I guess this is a second primetime game, technically. And, I mean, we didn't have a primetime game for a while until that Niners game. So 2 in like span of 5 weeks is not too shabby, I would say. I mean, I'm not saying that we're bad in primetime games, but we did not play well last time. Obviously the interceptions by Bryce, the defense played phenomenally in that game, but offensively we looked awful. Same kind of premise of the Seahawks game last week, where the defense was just showing out. I mean, the only flaw I would say the defense had was some dropped interceptions from J.C. Horn and Derek Brown. But besides that, they were so good. All of the Seahawks points seemingly came from short fields, where we had turnovers and gave the ball like automatically in the red zone. But besides that, it was really a really great defensive game and promising from a team that had the worst defense of all time last year, going to a defense that's locking down, the NFC's 1 seed. But like, of course, Baker Mayfield, he'll try as hard as he possibly can to win this game, and he'll be given effort, and this Bucks team will definitely be showing out more than they usually do in this game where they need to win. So I really see this as a back and forth game. I think most of the games the Panthers are in are back and forth, especially the ones they win. They're very good in the back and forth games. But I just don't really see right now. I'm not seeing it very likely that the Bucks can win this game. Thankfully for my Panthers, because they have looked so awful recently. The Panthers have looked slightly better, but not awful. And also, I'm going off of the whole every other game theory with Bryce Young, being this is one of those every other games that he will look good, that he will learn from the loss of last week and show out and be the guy that they drafted number 1 overall and be the guy that was against the Falcons, against the Packers, against the Rams, and win this game for the Panthers. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be close, like all the games that Bryce Young wins. And the Panthers, I think, might be another game-winning drive for Bryce. I think he's only had 2 non-game winning drives in his career that he's won games in, besides technically, I guess you could give him a win for the Raiders game that he didn't even play in. It was Andy Dalton. You don't give him a win? All right. But as a biased Panthers fan, I'm picking the Panthers by a billion. As an unbiased NFL fan, I'm still picking the Panthers to win this game. I know it's at Raymond James. I know they're recovering from injury. I know Baker is going to probably bake. I mean, it's an elimination game. He needs to win it. He's going to try his best. He's going to do his little third down scrambling thing he always does. But the Panthers team just looks so much more polished right now, which it joys me to say so much as a Panthers fan, is that our team looks so much more polished than the Bucs at this moment, because the Bucs are just making mistakes. That's all they're doing. They're making the mistake like last week, Quinn Ewers, they had Jamel Dean drop up into coverage while there's a deep route. That was a mistake. Baker would just kind of throw it up into triple cover. That was a mistake. Those things likely won't happen this week. But there's a very good, very, very good chance that they do. I mean, Baker's thrown an interception in, I think, multiple games in a row now. It has been the downfall for them. I mean, especially in the Panthers game, that was what sealed the game and gave him the win. Was Lathan Ransom and the diving pick. So it really does come down to if the Panthers can make some sort of offensive production, which I believe they will, given how they were so bad last game, and will likely learn and practice from that. I think Canales is very well off of a loss. I'm not sure his exact record, but I'm going to put it up right here. His record after a loss, and here's his record after a win. Yeah. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is, but this is a lot better than this. It's probably not a winning record. It might be. I don't know. But it's a lot better than whatever this is. I guarantee you. And we're off a loss right now. I think that they will learn and adapt to the Bucs defense and at least try take some risks. They took no risks last game. At least try to take some risks and, throw it deep or do it that ended around with Jimmy Horn or just something nice, and it will probably pay out just like it did last time against the Bucs. So my pick for that game is the Panthers, and that is the first game of the week. I'm not going to be doing picks for all the games this week, just the main important ones. And the other one, main important one on Saturday is Niners-Seahawks. The fight for the 1 seed. Winner gets the 1 seed. Loser likely gets the 5 seed unless the Niners lose and the Rams win, and the Rams get the 5 seed and the Niners the 6 seed. It's a whole thing. I'm not sure that Rams game will really matter. I think the Niners have just a pretty good matchup here with the Seahawks. They have looked like the best team in the NFL in the last few weeks, especially last week on Sunday Night Football. One of the best games I've ever seen out of those two teams, Bears-Niners. Just back and forth the entire time. So it was 7-7, 14-14, 21-21, 28-28, 35-35 was the scores of that game. The Niners eventually pulling out and winning in a very close and Game of the Year candidate, along with another Game of the Year candidate would be the week prior being Seahawks-Rams. But I look at the Seahawks' performance last week. I see their defense excelled. I also see that the Panthers' offense was not great. But I see that their offense really struggled, especially Sam Darnold. Darnold had 1 pick to Michael Jackson, but should have had 7 interceptions. There were so many dropped interceptions. The first or second play of the game, or second offensive play by the Seahawks, J.C. Horn had a pick 6 in his lap, and he dropped it. Derek Brown had a pretty easy pick in his lap, and he dropped it. There were so many. I don't know the exact I besides JC and Derek Brown, I can't pinpoint the exact person who did it, but I remember so vividly many possible interceptions that were dropped. The one that got caught, of course, is Michael Jackson, and he almost was out of bounds. His shin, thankfully, was down right before his other foot hit out of bounds. But Michael Jackson was very close to not picking that off, and that would have been another pick. But dang well that the Niners will not be dropping those. The 49ers will be taking advantage of every opportunity they can on defense. This defense has been so injured and like been kind of underperforming, and they will be taking advantage of every single opportunity they have and fighting for it and getting that interception that J.C. Horn didn't get, that Derrick Brown didn't get. And then offensively, of course, they are unstoppable right now. Of course, George Kittle playing really well when he's back, if he's healthy. He probably is healthy. Christian McCaffrey looking like an MVP candidate, and Brock Purdy playing like if he would have been an MVP candidate if he had played all season. And the Seahawks just kind of look like Sam Darnold we might be seeing it again. We might be seeing the whole Sam Darnold late season fall off. And this might be the time it starts. He might get sacked 8 times and then forget how to throw the ball. I am personally cheering for the Niners to win this game just because I think that the Panthers have a better chance of beating the Seahawks in the wildcard game than beating the Rams. Before you say anything, yes, the Panthers already beat the Rams and already lost to the Seahawks. The Panthers beat the Rams in one of the most crazy games I've ever watched. The Panthers' offensive production was entirely on fourth down, which is not going to happen every week. Their defense was so awful. The only saving grace of the defense was a terrible throw by Stafford for a Michael Jackson pick six. A insane forced fumble in the red zone, which we allowed them to march down at the red zone, and an insane tip pass in the red zone, letting them march down to the red zone. That should have been 21 more points to the Rams. The Rams should have scored like 40-something points that game. And we should have scored like 20. Instead, it was like 30-27, I believe. Because we had the most bend-don't-break game of all time. We're going to break if we play them again. If we play them again, we will break. Stafford has done a lot of picks in the last few weeks. I do not think it's going to keep up. I do not think he's going to be messing around next time around. The Seahawks, meanwhile, that is a game that we should have had more opportunities. We broke a lot more than we should have. We bent and then broke, but we should have bent a little bit more before breaking there. The drop picks, the fumbles that Kenneth Walker kind of dribbled the ball, like the fumbles that we couldn't pick up, the third and 20, down by 7 late in the game, making them punt, but then all of a sudden flag, J.C. Horn grabbed JSN's face mask. Just really, really frustrating game all around by the defense because they played so well, but the missed opportunities they had. And then offensively, just looking like the worst he's looked all season. Bryce Young throwing for 54 passing yards and a pick. He ran for a touchdown, but that was really it for him. And really just trying to up that performance offensively, I feel like will be a lot. If we had a better offensive game, we should have destroyed the Seahawks. If we had a better offensive game, if we looked like we did versus the Falcons on offense and maybe caught some interceptions, that's an easy win. But we, of course we didn't. And you can't ask for that every single week. But I believe that if we're in the playoffs, we can look like that. We can be that team. And if we do, I think we have a really good chance of being the Seahawks, especially when Sam Darnold is playing like that. So I am at least hoping the Niners beat the Seahawks this week. I think they will as well. I think it'll be a high-scoring game because this defense of the Niners has been kind of underperforming recently, but their offense has been making up for it, so it doesn't really matter. Sunday's slate of games is less interesting just because there's only a few games that really matter that much. I mean, I guess the Falcons and Saints could matter a lot depending on what happens on Saturday afternoon. That being, if the Bucs win, the Falcons can still get the Panthers into the playoffs if the Falcons win, which I'm a Falcons fan for a week here, and I was last week definitely watching that Rams game, seeing how we have another scenario of how the Panthers can get in. But the main important game on Sunday is Sunday night, last game of the week. Ravens, Steelers. Main conversation around this is Lamar Jackson. He's still injured from that back contusion and looks probable to play. My question for the viewers and also for myself is Lamar Jackson is probable to play. he has looked like the second best quarterback on his own team this year. Tyler Huntley has been very good when starting this year. He has been very good. He has. Whether or not that is just because he's done really well at handing the ball off to Derrick Henry is a conversation for another day. I do not think that they should start Snoop. I don't think they will start Snoop. But I think there should be a conversation around it. There should be a dialogue around the conversation of Lamar Jackson versus Snoop Huntley. Because, I mean, even though one guy is getting paid the big bucks, like the big bucks, one guy's getting paid the big bucks, and one guy has been your unanimous MVP, your main guy for the past 8 years, I think. The other guy looks better. That's as simple as the other guy looks better right now. I'm not saying that Snoop is better than Lamar Jackson. He's not. I'm saying that Lamar Jackson looks hurt. Since he came back from injury this year, he has been so much worse than we started. He started this year so strong, like performance-wise, not record-wise. But then he came back, and he looked like he came back too early. He looked like he came back 5 weeks too early. He looked hurt and slow and in pain every single game. And in pain, Lamar is not as good as healthy Tyler Huntley. I think they will start Lamar. I think they should start Lamar because it's, I guess, if you lose with Snoop, whoever's in charge of that is getting fired instantly for benching Lamar Jackson. But I think they should keep the game plan from what they had with Tyler Huntley. That game plan being giving Derrick Henry the ball 35 times. Giving him as many carries as humanly possible. Because I guarantee you against the Steelers defense, he will eat. I don't care if they stack the box with 11 people, he will eat. And that run will open up the pass for Lamar. It'll open up that read option. It'll open up that 20-yard run he hasn't even had all season that they've been talking about so much about Lamar's performance. It'll open that up. And I think trying to force Lamar back into it at full strength, at full speed, at giving him like a game plan where it's all Lamar is a big mistake. And their game plan really should just be give it to Henry and let that open up Lamar. Let Derrick Henry open up that read option where Lamar takes it for 85 yards. Let that open up Zay Flowers getting open on one-on-one coverage because everyone else is going on Derrick Henry. And don't immediately abandon it if he has like a 2-yard run because the O-line failed to block for him or like a negative 2-yard run. And don't immediately go to Keaton Mitchell. And that's what they've kind of been doing in the past weeks before that Packers game where he had over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like a quarterback stat right there. If they do that, I don't see a world where the Ravens lose this game. They are the best rushing team in the NFL, so run the ball. I see the Ravens winning this pretty easily if they can game plan correctly. If they go into the game like slinging it, Lamar, go out and pass, go out and scramble, do all you, they're not going to do it. Their pass blocking this year has been so awful, and behind Lamar being hurt, that's not going to be helpful. I say just give it to Henry and let that pave the way for some quick passes, and maybe don't even throw the ball with Lamar too much. Just let the run to the pass, and even when you're passing, try to get the ball out quick. Like a little dump down pass is enough, really, Lamar. Like, don't get hurt again because the playoffs, you don't want him to be hurting, especially behind an offensive line that gets him sacked like 4 times a game. So just be careful with Lamar and be ready to, in any sort of pain, put it in Tyler Huntley. If Lamar gets like slightly hurt again, but it's like, oh, I want to go back in, tell him you're not going back in because he looks so bad when he's hurt. I mean, I know he would want to go back in the game. He would want to fight for that playoff spot. But Snoop is good enough. He can fight for the playoff spot as well. So, I guess for my playoff predictions, I guess the seeding, I have Broncos. In the AFC, it doesn't really change much. I have Broncos at the 1, Patriots at the 2, Jags at the 3. They're going to be the Titans, of course. Ravens at the 4. Texans at the 5, Bills at the 6, Chargers at the 7. The Chargers are resting their quarterback this week. They're probably not going to win. The Bills and Texans, I think, might both win, but the Texans have tiebreaker over the Bills because they beat the Bills. In the NFC, I have the 1 seed, the Niners, 2 seed being the Bears, and the Eagles, and the Panthers. First playoff berth 2017, I think, is going to happen this week. Either that's from being the Bucks or the Falcons clutching up and being the Saints. 5 being the Seattle Seahawks, 6 being the Rams, and 7 being the Green Bay Packers. And then after that, who do I think is the main contender in the NFL? I think it's going to be definitely someone from the NFC. The AFC this year has just looked a lot weaker, I guess. The top 2 seeds are probably the 2 teams with the easiest schedule in the NFL this year and haven't really faced that much tough competition. And then the 3 seed being the Jags, they have limited playoff experience. They did have a pretty good game a few years ago against the Chargers, which would be a pretty good, fun playoff matchup if the Jags played the Chargers, being that huge comeback at halftime to win. Besides that, they haven't made it to like a conference championship game. They haven't really performed in a divisional game in this, I guess, era of the team. I mean, they haven't done it since Blake Bortles era in Jacksonville. And then the Ravens don't look consistent enough to make a big run. They could make a push, but playing against like the Texans in the wild card in their run and their defense might be rough. And then following that with a possible matchup with like the Patriots and then like the Bills, it just seems like a tough schedule to get to for a team that's so inconsistent. Meanwhile, in the NFC, they look like a bunch of powerhouses. They look like, I mean, that's just the NFC West has the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams in there. And of course, the Bears look good. The Eagles are the Super Bowl champions from last year. I think it would probably be one of those teams. I bet it would be the Niners. They look so good right now, and they look finally ready to make that leap to actually winning the Super Bowl. Them or the Seahawks. I think if the Seahawks look like they did against the Panthers, they will lose in the wild card game to the Panthers. And if they look like they did against the Rams, they will beat anybody. Anybody. My prediction of the Super Bowl actual matchup is Bills, because I think the Bills are the only real team that you can look at in the AFC and say, that's a surefire contender. That's a team that can beat anyone. That's a team that will beat anyone. And then the Niners. And I think that game will be very, very fun. And I think it'll pull out with the Niners winning the Super Bowl this year, finally getting it done after two times in the past 4 or 5, 6 years. 6 years now. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's been 6 years since 2020, isn't it? Wow. 6 years losing to the Chiefs in dramatic fashion. But this time beating in, I think Bills fans would be very sad losing in the Super Bowl. But yeah, that's my predictions. I'll be back next week to make some more after the chaos of Week 18 ensues. But right now, my picks are pretty solid. You know, Panthers in the playoffs, and then, of course, Niners winning the Super Bowl against the Bills. Play this clip. Oh, yeah, if my mom got anything, I haven't checked the score of my mom versus me, our predictions from last week's episode. So I'll put it up right here, who won. I hope it's me. I don't think it is me. All I know is that we both got the Browns right, and I'm happy about that. I hope it's me. And then also right now, if my mom got anything right that she said play this clip on, she said a lot of things about the future, but if she did say that it happened last week, I will play the clip right now after I close out. So thank you everyone for watching. This has been PC's Playbook, and peace.